You know that feeling? You're driving, and suddenly you snap back to reality and realize you don't even remember the last few miles. Or maybe you're just staring out a window, totally lost in thought, completely oblivious to everything happening around you. Well, that experience, that mind wandering, isn't just some random glitch in your brain. It's actually a secret window into the hidden architecture of your own mind. So come on, let's take a look inside. So let's just start with a really simple question. What is your brain actually doing when you think you're doing nothing at all? You know, when you're daydreaming, letting your thoughts just drift? You'd probably guess the answer is, uh, not much. But it turns out that nothing is one of the most important things your brain ever does. It's almost like our brain has this incredible autopilot mode. And when you start to understand it, you find this hidden network that's pretty much running the show behind the scenes. Okay, so say hello to the default mode network, or the DMN for short. The best way to think about it is like your computer's operating system. When you're not actively clicking on an app or typing in a document, the OS is still humming along in the background, right? Well, the DMN is your brain's operating system. It's what instantly powers up the moment you stop focusing on something out there in the world. And this autopilot is no slouch. The DMN is an absolute powerhouse. It's where we figure out who we are, where we replay old memories to learn from our mistakes, and where we run simulations of the future. And get this, it's also our hub for empathy. It's what lets us put ourselves in someone else's shoes. So yeah, all that creativity, that sense of self, a lot of it is born right here. But of course, there's a flip side. When the DMN goes into overdrive, it can get stuck, seriously stuck. Instead of just reflecting, it starts ruminating, just replaying the same negative thoughts, the same worries, over and over again. This is exactly why an out-of-control DMN is so often linked to things like anxiety and depression. It's like the autopilot is stuck flying in circles, right through the middle of a thunderstorm. Which, you have to admit, brings up a pretty mind-blowing question. How on earth can scientists even know any of this? How is it possible to listen in on the brain's most private internal conversations? Well, to figure that out, we actually need to take a trip back in time. We need to meet the man who basically drew the first ever blueprint of the modern brain, the original architect of neuroscience itself. His name was Santiago Ramon y Cajal. Now, picture this. Over 100 years ago, with just a simple microscope and some chemical stains, he started drawing what he saw. And his drawings were not only beautiful pieces of art, they were scientific genius. What he drew literally changed everything we thought we knew. He gave us the basic grammar we needed to finally start reading the brain's incredibly complex language. See, before Caccal, the big theory from a guy named Camillo Golgi was that the brain was just one big, tangled, chaotic web of tissue, a single continuous mesh. Trying to track a thought in that thing would be like trying to hear one person's conversation in a packed football stadium. It's just noise. But Caccal, he proposed something totally revolutionary. His neuron doctrine said, no, the brain is made of individual cells, neurons, that are all talking to each other in a structured, organized way. It's not a chaotic mesh, it's a coordinated community. Cajal essentially laid down the three pillars of modern neuroscience. First, the neuron doctrine we just talked about. The brain is made of individual cells. Second, something called dynamic polarization. Basically, that information flows down a predictable, one-way street. And third, and this one is the real game changer, neuronal plasticity. The idea that our brain isn't a fixed static thing. It physically changes based on what we do and what we experience. And that last idea, plasticity, that's where this century-old science smacks right into our daily lives. It's the key that lets us actively shape our own minds. This quote from Cajal, it's just so powerful. And remember, he said this over 100 years ago, long before we had any technology to prove he was right. Every man can be, if he so desires, the sculptor of his own brain. He was telling us that we're not just stuck with the brain wiring we have. We are the artists, the sculptors of our own minds. So Cajal's idea of plasticity is the how. It's the scientific reason we can take back control of our default mode network. If you're stuck in one of those negative thought loops, you're not helpless. You can take deliberate, conscious actions to quiet that DMN down and start building new, healthier pathways in your brain. You can literally be the sculptor of your own thoughts. So, okay, how do you actually do that? How do you break this cycle? Well, the trick is to shift your focus from all that internal stuff to something external. And it can be super simple. Focus on one simple task, like organizing your desk, Or write a quick list of a few good things that happened today. In a really stressful situation, just check your gear. Make sure you have what you need. These little actions physically pull your brain out of that spiraling DMN and anchor it in the present moment. It snaps the loop. So here's the takeaway. You start with one small, manageable, positive action. That action breaks the negative thought cycle. That break allows more positive thought to pop in, which then makes it easier to take another positive action. You see? You create this amazing upward spiral. You can build real momentum, one little choice at a time. Now, this ability we have to consciously change our thoughts, to literally sculpt our brains, it doesn't just help us feel better. It actually pushes us toward the biggest, most profound question of all, a question that Cahal's work blew the doors wide open on. I mean, think about it. If we can map out all the neurons, the hardware, and we can understand the networks, like the DMN, the software, does that mean we have all the ingredients to create consciousness? Could we theoretically build a machine that's truly self-aware, just like you and me? That whole question makes a huge assumption, though, that the brain creates consciousness. But what if that's wrong? What if we've been looking in completely the wrong place this whole time? Okay, hang on, because this is where it gets really wild. There's a theory that suggests the brain is more like a super advanced radio. The radio doesn't create the music, right? It just receives a signal that's already out there, tunes into it, and plays it. This theory proposes that our brain doesn't create consciousness, it just receives it. It's a complex biological filter that takes this vast universal consciousness and tunes it down into the individual experience that you call me. And that brings us all the way back around to Cahal's incredible metaphor. If you are the sculptor of your own brain, and your brain is the filter that creates your reality, then what exactly are you sculpting with? Who or what is the you that's holding the chisel? That's a question that science is only just beginning to ask. And the answer, well, the answer could change everything.